Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be reviewing a ton of new makeup launches. We've got some high-end and some drugstore in today's roundup. I personally think that 2026 is going to be a really great year for drugstore makeup. There's been so many new launches that I've gotten really excited about this year, and also a little bit towards the end of last year. But when I'm reviewing things like complexion, I really like to use it for at least a couple weeks, ideally a month, so that I can really see how these products perform. And throughout the video, I'll also be showing you demos of these products being used so that you can hopefully get a little bit of a better feel for what they look like, how they apply, texture, formula, all of that good stuff. So let's get into it. I actually talked about this briefly on TikTok. My top 3 holy grail favorite foundations of all time have all 3 been reformulated. So the Armani Luminous Silk was reformulated, Chantecaille's Future Skin was reformulated, which is so sad because I think if you're reformulating, I want the product to be better or just as good. And specifically with Armani and Chantecaille, I don't think they have the same effect on my skin that I loved so much about the originals. I will say with the Armani, it still is quite similar, but I still don't like it as much, and it doesn't seem to be quite as blurring. And then with the Chantecaille Future Skin, I just straight up don't like it as much. That could also be because I don't have like an exact shade match. I used to wear the shade Wheat in Chantecaille Future Skin, and with their reformulation of Future Skin, Wheat is now completely defunct. It just doesn't exist. So if you've tried the reformulation and you were the shade Wheat, let me know what your shade is in Future Skin so I can hopefully, try a shade that matches. But overall, I feel like Armani Luminous Silk got slightly more glowy, a little bit less coverage, and it doesn't have that like silky set down on the skin. Whereas with the Chantecaille, I swear to you, I feel like it emphasizes my dry patches, and it's so matte. And one of the unique things about gel formula foundations is that they usually mimic your skin, and I'm sad about that. However, my other holy grail foundation that has been reformulated, where I actually think this is like a warranted reformulation, I think the formula is better and they actually improved upon it, it's the Estée Lauder Double Wear. I still wear shade 4N2 Spice Sand. That's like one of my best shade matches across the board in all foundations. Overall, with the original Double Wear, even though I loved that, it was kind of a trickier formula to work with. It dried down really quick and it was significantly matte, quite one-dimensional if you think about it. And so a lot of times when I was wearing Double Wear, I did extensive skin prep, and I would oftentimes mix in an illuminator or just something to help give the foundation a little bit more of a skin-like quality and just look more radiant, because I'm already so dry that mattifying products make me look even more matte than the typical person. And it also did dry down quite quickly, so you kind of had to work quadrant by quadrant when you were applying it on the face. With the new version, it is still matte, but it replicates the skincare that you have underneath it so much better. So I like to go in, because it's wintertime, I'm wearing the Road Barrier Butter. It really helps keep my skin nice and moisturized all day, and I feel like it also just makes my base products look and apply the way that I'd like, despite whatever like primer or anything else that I'm using. With the Estée Lauder Double Wear, it mimics that dew that I want a little bit more, whereas if I use a mattifying primer, it's gonna set down matte, and you still get that beautiful, full, flawless coverage, but because with the new formula, it's got a little bit more flex to it, you can sheer it out so much better than you could sheer out the original. So I love that about it. And they also improved the wear time on this version. So instead of the standard 24-hour, you're getting 36-hour wear with the new version. And I do feel like the longevity is reflected in the new formula. I feel like it wears flawlessly all day and like seriously looks freshly applied, especially if you set it with powder. This foundation will literally look the way it was applied throughout the entire day or evening, and it doesn't do quite as much cracking and crumbling as the original version did. It doesn't like move around or migrate into the lines on my face, so I love that about this. I'm like genuinely really excited about this, because to me, I feel like this version is just much more reflective of a natural looking matte without being quite as one-dimensional and, just lackluster. It really looks like a perfected powdered finish skin with a little bit of dew, but it's not greasy and it stays put, and it's phenomenal, and it's the best reformulation of a foundation that I've ever tried. Okay, so we have got 2 new concealers on the market. We've got the Patrick Ta Major Skin Soft Blur Brightening Concealer. I have not been, I can't even talk. I have not been this excited about a concealer in literal years. This has blown me away. I think I might like this more than my beloved Kosas Revealer Concealer. So that's honestly saying a lot. And then we also have the new Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Blur Concealer. So I want to start off with this one because if you guys remember years ago, my favorite concealer from Charlotte Tilbury was the Magic Away. It came with that little puff applicator. Beautiful. I raved about that for so long. And then she came out with a couple other concealers, wasn't that big of a fan of. I feel like this is Magic Away reincarnated because it has all the same qualities that I loved about Magic Away. It is extremely full coverage, so a tiny bit covers everything. It's not fully matte, but it still covers up hyperpigmentation and pimples really well. I had a breakout on my chin a couple weeks ago and I'm still dealing with that hyperpigmentation. This covers those up flawlessly and it dries down, which I love because you know me, most days I don't really like to wear powder. If I could skip out on powder, I'm skipping out on powder. And so I like how this concealer really just kind of like stays put, dries down. Coverage point is ideal if you like to cover things up and you've got a lot of problem areas that you really want that maximum coverage on. But also if you're like me and you just like a little bit of extra flawlessness on the under eyes, it really does a good job at just like completely blanking out the canvas on the face and staying put. But obviously if you set it with powder, you're just gonna increase that longevity. But I really like this as well. So as much as I like that concealer and I would definitely recommend it, and I've been working it into my routine, it's the one that I'm wearing on the under eyes today, it has completely been overshadowed by the Patrick Ta concealer because I love this concealer so much. If you like the Patrick Ta Major Skin Foundation, which I have right here, the Major Skin Hydra Luxe Luminous Skin Perfecting Foundation, you will love this concealer. It's basically like the foundation, but in a concealer form. So the coverage point is much higher, but because it's that beautiful, creamy, velvety liquid formula, it really shears out ideally. So like you can get this to just blend into the skin completely seamlessly, which I think is crazy. And I also think with Patrick Ta, much like Estee Lauder, he has some of my best shade matches across all brands, and he really formulates complexion to look luminous, which is obviously, you know, my preferred type of finish on the skin because again, with dry skin, I'm just trying to combat the visible dryness and dullness of my skin, so I love a nice luminous product. It's really all those amazing things, and like it stays, it doesn't move around. I feel like underneath the eyes it looks really great. And then I also like to use it for highlighting the face. If I want to add a little bit of extra dimension, I'll use that lighter shade. Whereas if I feel like I just don't want to wear foundation for the day, I'll wear the shade that matches my skin perfectly and I'll just wear it all over the face, covering up hyperpigmentation and just giving myself a touch of coverage where I need it, but it makes my skin look like really good skin. It's lighter weight than the one from Kosas and more luminous without being tacky or sticky, and I use it the same as I do the Kosas. So like it's a great concealer, but I also like this on no foundation days where I just want to wear this as foundation. Genuinely feel like this is going to be a standout star product of 2026, and it's just like so exciting. Came out with it right in the beginning of the year, and it's a beautiful concealer and I'm obsessed with it. I've been wearing it almost every single day because I can't put it down, and like even if I use another concealer, I'm like, I think I like the Patrick Ta better. So we also got some really exciting bronzer launches, both in the high-end prestige space as well as the drugstore. So I'm gonna start off with the creams, and these are new from L'Oreal. These are the Lumi Le Stick Soleil cream bronzers. I have two shades. So the shade Copper Bronzette I use for like bronzing, and then the shade Sunkissed Rosé. It's kind of like a bronzer shade. You could technically wear it as a blush, or you could take it all over the face if you like more of like a pinky toned bronzer. Keep in mind, these are part of the Lumi line, so they are significantly more strobed than a lot of other products you're gonna see. So you definitely have to like that super glowy, luminous finish to the skin. The formula on these is pretty incredible because it's very emollient and buttery, and although it's a stick, I feel like it kind of performs more like a liquid bronzer because it can sheer out a lot easier than a lot of other cream bronzers can. It doesn't have that almost like paste-like, clay-like consistency that a lot of cream bronzers have. They're almost kind of like an oil pastel in formula. This one's kind of like a coconut oil, but not oily. But you know how coconut oil is solidified at room temperature, and then when it hits the heat of your skin, it melts? That's kind of the effect that you get from these bronzers. And I do find this bronzer pretty exceptional for the versatility in formula. So one of the ways that I really like to use it is for underpainting. I'd say that's my favorite way to use this, just kind of getting a nice bronze layer all over the skin and then applying foundation, tinted moisturizer, skin tint, all of that on top of it. But you can also wear this on top of makeup, and because of that formula, like I said, how it kind of melts down once it hits the heat of your skin, it doesn't cause the makeup to lift up from underneath it. So instead of kind of pulling makeup away as you apply it on top of your base products, it's just gonna melt down onto the skin and really forms that like seamless fusion between bronzer and complexion products. Dior also came out with a green bronzer, and good golly, I love this. This is the Dior Forever Skin Bronze. I have this one and I kind of want to get a deeper shade because I want something that's like a little bit more of an intense bronze. This is beautiful. So if you like the Dior Forever foundation stick, the contour, it's the same formula that you know and love, just in bronzer form. So again, much like the one from L'Oreal, this one can be used for underpainting and it looks beautiful, flawless, seamless, just melts into the skin, or it can be applied on top of makeup because, as you know, if you've used any other products from this line, it still has that nice stretch and it's going to melt onto the skin versus pull and tug the makeup underneath it along with the stick of the product. It really has a unique formula where it looks like it's gonna be slightly dewy as you're blending it out, but what I love about this Dior formula specifically is that it sets down to more of a powdered finish. So it's not sticky and you can apply, you know, like a powder bronzer on top of it if you want to, but it also looks really beautiful on its own. And because it has a little bit more of that powdery finish, I feel like it does a good job at blurring, not hiding texture on the skin per se, but just kind of like giving a little bit more of a soft filtered effect to the skin so that it doesn't look like it's bringing other things to light or amplifying them through the use of pearl and luminous pigments within the product. So I love this. I think if you don't like glowy, but you want to try one of the new bronzer sticks, I would definitely recommend the one from Dior. And the formula is just like totally unbeatable because you get that really gorgeous powdery set down. We did also get some very exciting launches to the drugstore realm of baked bronzers. Baked bronzers are always gonna win me over. They're always gonna be my favorite formula of bronzer because the effect that a baked powder specifically, and especially with like a bronzer or a blush or a highlight, the way that these baked powders apply to the skin is much more skin-like, and they can oftentimes have almost like a glossy effect to the skin without amplifying shine or making the skin look dewy. So it's a really interesting type of formula where it's going to kind of give you more of a like soft focus glow to the skin without being shiny. And the powders themselves have the most impeccable slip and silky texture to them to where they can also look airbrushed. So like it really just depends on how you apply these products. So Milani came out with a baked bronzer and then Covergirl came out with a baked bronzer. The Covergirl ones I do feel like are kind of the star of the show. You get that marbling in these products. I'm trying to show you as I open them. So you get that marbling in the product, which is, there are drugstore products that have this gorgeous marble to them, but this is otherwise, honestly, typically something you mainly see with prestige brands. And although it doesn't affect the formula that much because you're going to be swirling the brush into the product and mixing all the shades together anyway, it's just pretty to look at and it looks a little bit more luxe, a little bit more elevated in my opinion. These are beautiful. The formula is slippy and silky and they're glowy without being glittery, and they just look phenomenal. They kind of put like this candlelit glow on the skin. They remind me so much of the ones from Hourglass, and you really get all those like prestige effects from this bronzer at this price point where it blurs, it kind of provides that filter, it makes the skin look really nice and seamless. And if you use a lighter shade, so like I bronze with Caramel Truffle, I use the shade 300 Honey Bun as more of like a finishing powder and just gently take that shade all over the face on a big fluffy brush. Like I would use like this. This is a Dior number 14. So something where it's not going to like pack the product down where you're getting much intensity, but just kind of getting that like airbrushed flawless finish, little bit of glow. And if you use something that's a little bit more dense, you're obviously going to see those pearl pigments a little bit more. So that's why I like Caramel Truffle for bronzing, because I can really kind of get that like lit from within moonbeam, candlelit, like gorgeous glow to the product. Now I will also say Milani reformulated their baked bronzers. I previously was like very on the fence about the old version of this product because the first layer had a pretty significant amount of glitter overspray. Once you buffed that initial first layer off, you oftentimes wouldn't get the glitter on the skin, but it was still like so inconvenient that a lot of times I loved the product, but it was a hassle to use and I just didn't find myself reaching for it that often because even once you got the glitter overspray off, those pesky little overspray bits were kind of integrated into the formula, and then it was like inevitable that you would oftentimes just like get glitter randomly on your face. With the new version, they don't have the glitter overspray, and this is not as luminous as the one from Covergirl, so it's not quite as glowy, but it still has a little bit of that soft focus glow to it, so it's not quite as intense, but you're still gonna get that nice radiance to the skin without it being quite as much. And I feel like the formula on these, they did perfect. There's also a blush from the new reformulation that I really like, but they're pretty. I think if you don't want something that's quite as glowy as Covergirl, the Milani is also a really great option, and they're pretty. They just give you, like I said, that really nice seamless effect. This blush has been my obsession as of late. This is Rose Latte. This is from the Covergirl TruBlend Skin Enhancer line as well. This is so beautiful. It reminds me again, you know, like I was saying, you see this marbling effect every once in a while. Like Kosas has some blushes like this, Hourglass, like there's a lot of brands that do this, but it's pretty to look at. That's all I'm gonna say. Rose Latte is like my dream everyday shade. I feel like this has totally wiped out any of my other favorite drugstore blushes, and like this is the one that I'm really reaching for day in and day out because it gives you that luminous glow without being too shiny. But it's not so luminous that it's gonna look like you're wearing a highlighter. So honestly, when you're wearing the bronzer and the blush combined, you can totally skip out on highlighter because you probably won't need much more glow, and it's going to still reflect light off of the high points of the face. This shade is so ideal. I think there's only 3 shades. The other 2 I wasn't super interested in, but Rose Latte is like, if you want a good everyday, kind of can go with like theoretically any makeup look, from like a smoky eye to a natural no makeup look, Rose Latte is the shade. This is beautiful, and again, same formula as the bronzer, so just like so easy to work with, such beautiful products, really great price point. I'm not gonna recommend powder highlights super often because I feel like once you find a shade or a brand or a formula that you really like, they all do the same thing. You just don't want anything that's glittery. This is one of the first highlights that I've tried where I'm like, oh no, the formula is different. This is the Haloed, the shade is Haloed, and this is from the Shiny Objects line from Kosas. If there was a highlight that actually appeared onto the skin like a liquid, okay, but was a powder, so it's not sticky, so like it applies like a powder, it's very intuitive to use, you don't need to use any special tools, you can use your fingertips or you can use a brush. Like I said, it does not really matter how you apply this. It looks like a liquid glaze on the skin. The formula is so buttery, it's almost like kind of spongy, but it's just this really insanely slick, slippy type of highlight, and like look at that intensity, and then it has the ability to be sheared out to just kind of like a little bit of a filter highlight. Like you can see it on the back of my hand. Obviously I'm gonna show it on my face too, but the way this product can transform depending on, you know, if you apply a little bit or a lot is really unique. So I love that because you can really choose how much intensity you want from this highlight, but the glazed effect that this can give, even though it's a powder, is incredible. Like I was saying, like kind of that glossy effect from a powder product, you get that with this, and I do like how this is eye safe as well, so you can use this as an eyeshadow as well as on the face. I love this underneath the brow, on the tops of the cheekbones, nose, like center of the face, anywhere you want to add a little bit of glow. It's not glittery, so you're not gonna get those glitter particles throughout the formula that are kind of creating a little bit more of a chunky, slightly twinkling effect on the skin. It just looks like a sheen. Like if you wanted the perfect powder highlight and you want something that's going to be semi-customizable on the amount of shine, because even when you wear a little bit, you're still gonna get that really intense glow, this is great. And if you have kind of had a bad experience with powder highlights in the past, because sometimes they can honestly just like emphasize texture, dry patches, things like that, this is exceptional. And like, I mean, Typically, I'm not really one to get excited over highlights because I feel like, well, you know, they all kind of do the same. The e.l.f. one is really nice. It's very similar to the one from Rare Beauty, but the formulas are very similar, and we've seen those types of highlights before. You know that they're good product. But like for Kosas to come out with one where I feel like the formula is genuinely unique and I like the concept of this product, I'm like, no. The Kosas one is very exciting. You guys, this product specifically has like totally changed my makeup routine. This is the One Size Powder Melt. Like I mentioned earlier when we were talking, you guys know I have just year over year, I am not a big powder girl. I just, with my dry skin type, I feel like if I can skip it, I'm gonna skip it. And I'd rather like my makeup need touch up than have to wear powder most of the time. However, since I've been using the One Size Powder Melt, I feel like I legitimately like can't do my makeup without it, and it makes me wear powder almost every single day because I know the utility of powder. It increases makeup's longevity. You can use it to add dimension to the base. Like I love the way my face looks with powder, but a lot of times it just took a lot of finagling to get it to look the way that I want. Completely negates all that issue, all the extra step. I do this as one of my final steps in my makeup routine. Sometimes I will do it like 2 to 3 times and kind of sandwich it in throughout the routine. The way that this works is it takes away the powder finish on the base, but it does not leave any type of tacky residue. It honestly kind of forms like a film over the face, so I actually feel like it helps with makeup's longevity as well. When you think of like my other favorite setting spray, which is the Iconic London Prep Set Glow, love this, still use this just as much. It does like kind of leave a little bit of a tacky film, but I can just put powder on top of it or spray it further away from the face to get less of that tacky residue. So I still use this every single time I do my makeup, but now I've added in the One Size and I can use less of this. So this just kind of puts like a highlight veil all over my skin, whereas this I feel like is kind of more of a necessity because it takes away the powder finish from my skin, where I feel like sometimes like underneath my eyes or like around the corners of my nose, especially if I'm having like an eczema flare up, I'm like, I don't like the way the powder is sitting under there. Or, you know, sometimes I just don't like the way the powder looks on my cheeks or my forehead or whatever. This forms that film, does not leave a tacky layer, and like it really does melt the powder down. It's kind of exceptional. I'm honestly really upset I didn't try this at first because it says it's a glass setting spray, so that made me think I don't really need it because it's just gonna leave a tacky layer on the skin, and I already have the Iconic one that I love so much, but it doesn't do that. It doesn't leave a sticky layer, at least on my skin. That could be because I'm dried, but I am loyal to this, truly. It's like one of those new steps that I've integrated where I feel like my makeup doesn't feel done unless I use this. Oh my gosh, you guys, with the lip category, there are so many new launches. I feel like it's overwhelming. I wanna start off with one from the drugstore that I really love, and again, this has like been a new step that I've integrated. You know, I usually wear a lip stain most days. I'd say like 9 out of 10 times I do. I really, really like the NYX Lip Lingeries. My favorite shades are Barely There and Cuff Me. Cuff Me is a little bit more pink. Barely There is just kind of like a deeper version of my natural lip color. So they have this ball tip applicator that I really like because you can get a nice precise line, and then you can just use the edge of the applicator to fill in the lips. These last so long. You can wear them underneath your lip combo, which is my favorite way to wear them. So that as my lip combo kind of fades throughout the day, at least I have the stain and it's not just like no lip product, you know what I mean? And the thing that I like about the NYX Lip Lingerie so much is that they did good shades for once. It's like an entire line of lip shades that will go with multiple different lip products. Oftentimes with stains, you know, they're gonna be like rose, pink, purple, orange, red, and like, yes, those are great, but like we need some pinky nudes, we need some pinky browns, some beigey tones thrown in there as well. So really excited about these. I would say I wear Barely There a little bit more, but if I'm wearing like a pink lip combo, I do Cuff Me. And I always try to keep them stored like this so that the product's always going to the applicator. Sometimes with these stains, if you store them this way up, like cap side up, you'll have to wait for the product to kind of flow back to the applicator. So as long as you store them like this, I haven't had any issues with these drying out, and I've been using these since December, so great. Everybody's coming out with a lip butter, lip balm these days. I will say with the Patrick Ta ones, I really like these. I love the shade Milk Tea, and then I love the shade Cookie Butter. Cookie Butter is the one that I'm wearing today in my lip combo. It's just like a nice, kind of like mauve, and I feel like it's a really flattering, you know, everyday shade. So that's what I was wearing. They smell amazing, they taste good, they've got like a little bit of a flavor to them, and There's also like just his original cocoa butter. If you like milky glosses as much as I do, get the cocoa butter one because it's just like a milky, see-through, clear filter on the lips. And then milk tea, it smells literally like a boba. It smells insane. It's beautiful. So I really like these. I think they're moisturizing. They don't, you know, feel too sticky or too heavy, but you still get that really nice like glossy effect. And I feel like these are the types of lip products that I reach for day in and day out. Like these are just my favorite preferred lip product if I'm not wearing a lipstick. I love a tinted balm with just a little bit of lip liner. So Rare Beauty also came out with lip butters. And the interesting thing about the Rare Beauty ones is they actually come in a component that you would typically see for a lip balm versus a butter. I feel like butters usually come in squeeze tubes. This is another one where I'm like, oh no, that's kind of unique because it still has that buttery, cushiony, kind of like thick formula that you typically get from a squeeze tube in a solidified form. There's tinted versions, but there also is a clear one. And I'll swatch this so you guys can see. You get some really amazing shine from the Rare Beauty ones. My favorite of the tinted shades is Love, but Easygoing is like not scented, no color, still get the really nice shine, and you can just kind of pair it with anything that you prefer. And I'm sure you guys have seen a lot about this. This is Rhode's Peptide Lip Balm. There are two flavors. There's unscented and sugar mint. Sugar mint's the one that I really like, but I only really need to show you one because they look exactly the same. Hopefully you can see there's like a slight pink tint to this product. It is Rhode's plumping lip treatment, but still super shiny. And you just barely see that pink filter to the lips. You guys know me, I am a Rhode stan. I love the Rhode products, but genuinely, I love this lip product. It plumps your lips. It smooths out all the lines in your lips, gives you a little bit more vertical volume. The other thing I really like about this is that it is plumping without being aggressively irritating or agitating and uncomfortable on the lips. Like you just feel a slight tingle, but it's not a spicy lip plumper. So if you have used the spicy lip plumpers in the past, you know they kind of like make your eyes water, sometimes they make your nose run. They're not really great if you're sensitive to that type of feeling on the lips, where with the Rhode one, you're gonna get all that same effect that you would get from a spicy lip plumper with more of a tingle sensation. So I won't say that it's something that you completely won't feel, but if you like lip plumpers, which you know I do, I always like my lips to look plump, I really like this. And the difference between the formulation of the Peptide Lip Boost in comparison to the Peptide Lip Treatment is actually pretty different. I feel like with the Peptide Lip Treatment, it's quite honestly just a cushiony lip gloss, whereas with the Peptide Lip Boost, you've got a little bit more of a balminess to the product, but you still get that really intense, like signature Hailey Bieber glossy lip effect. It's still really nice and cushiony as well, but it just feels a little bit more substantial on the lips, a little bit less like a true lip gloss and more like an actual lip balm that's just really nice and thick, super shiny. If you want to try the Rhode one, I would recommend this over the original lip treatment. If you're just going for clear, I would get this instead of the lip treatment because the Rhode lip tints from the lip treatment line are more of the star of the show of that genre of the product. Whereas if you're just going for a clear and you want like an everyday clear lip product, get the lip boost because you'll also get a little bit of plumping action. So I'm sure you guys have also seen this too. Everybody is talking about how Mario re-released his lip sculpting pencil in Toasty. Can confirm, I do love it. I've been working it into a lot of combos recently. However, I'm sure you guys know my favorites from Makeup by Mario, this is Smoky Pink. Like she's on her last leg and I think this is like the fourth one of these I've bought. I love this lip liner. So there's Smoky Pink. And then my second favorite, which I am also on my second pencil of this, is Almond. Almond is usually like my go-to everyday shade. They look really similar swatched, but I promise they look different on the lips. This is Toasty, which is gonna be the last one. It's a little bit more mauve leaning than the rest. So Toasty is darker than Smoky Pink, lighter than Almond, and more neutral in tone than Smoky Pink, but pinker than Almond. So that's the best way I can describe it to you. Toasty is a really beautiful kind of like, I need to wipe these swatches off really quick, but Toasty is a really great shade if you like to overline. It's got that signature Mario Ultra Suede formula to it. So these are creamy. They blend into the lips really beautifully. And if you tend to like similar lip liner shades to me, I think Toasty is worth picking up because like I said, it's swatched, you can really see the nuances between each shade, but on the lips, it's a really easy to wear everyday color, especially if you're a similar skin tone to me. It's the lip liner that I'm wearing right now, and it's just like an easy everyday lip color to wear. So I love that like on its own with just a clear gloss or worked into a combo. And you guys know, I'm just a really big fan of the Makeup by Mario lip liners. I feel like, again, like that's kind of one of his things that I feel like he makes really great lip shades. If you guys have any questions about any of these new launches, like with the formula, the wear time, or anything that I didn't touch on in this video, just leave them in the comments and I will do my best to help you based on my experience using these products. But otherwise, I'm gonna list and link everything with shades and all those specifics in the description box down below for you. And if there are any new launches that you really want to see me review on YouTube specifically, please leave them in the comments and let me know. I'd love to know if you've used any of these products. Like if you use the one size, like give me your hacks. Tell me how you like to use it. Like do you have any secret ways that you like to work it into your routine? Because I'm loving it and I just like want to utilize it as much as possible. So I think that's everything I wanted to say though. I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching this one. Bye.